Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all so much for taking the time out of your days to be here today and listen to our experiences. And I'm going to tell you about mine. Next slide. Today we're going to talk about myself, my project team, the project I was on, some of the challenges we faced, and my overall internship experience for the summer. My name is Adriana Casas. As some of you may know, I'm a second-year intern, avid cat lover, resident foodie, and Ariana Grande super fan. I attend UNLV, and I'm majoring in civil engineering. I'm a sophomore currently, and my next major milestone is to graduate in May of 2023. This was my wonderful team, the Venetian Golden Gals. My two mentors were Matt Godino and Greg Church, which are right here. They're beautiful. Maddie Yee was another engineer on our team, and Eric Anderson was our superintendent. Mike Karowski was our project manager. The project that we were assigned to this summer was the Golden Guy inside of the Palazzo. Now, Golden Guy, or G2, was this Japanese sushi restaurant with a bunch of high-end finishes and intricate design. As you can see up on the screen, these are the plans that we were given by our designers. There's a whole lot of different areas in here with intricate designs, and all of these walls that you see up here were taken down during the demolition phase, as well as all of the existing FF&E and kitchen equipment that was in place from the previous restaurant. Now, we faced a lot of challenges on this project, but as a team, we had to get through them together. One of the main ones was our tight budget. We had to make sure that we value engineered a lot of our materials in order to give our project owners the best value possible. With our short schedule, we had to make sure to expedite procurement submittals, and with our incomplete design documents, as a team, we decided to conduct an internal constructability review process and coordination with our subcontractors in order to catch issues early on in the design documents instead of later on during the field. We were brought on as a design assist contractor, so it was our duty to make sure that we were expediting things and coordinating as best as possible. Now, one of Penta's core values is flexibility, and that's something that our team really had to exercise this summer, especially since our project did end up getting shut down, unfortunately. But that doesn't mean that we didn't have a large takeaway from the time that we had on this project. As you can see up here, we did finish out the demolition phase. Here are just some pictures of them. And in the next pictures, you can see that we ended up leaving an empty shell space for whenever the owners decide to restart construction in this space. And I was tasked on this project to work with Struction Site. I don't know where the pictures. Well, this is supposed to be a video showing off what the space looked like beforehand. It was the Morel's Steakhouse. And I was taught by Chris Walker how to use the 360 camera in order to take progress pictures every week. So you can see here, this was the entry space of the existing restaurant. It was Morel's inside of the Palazzo. Here was a bar that we tore down. This was supposed to be the main dining area. A sushi bar was supposed to go there. We tore all of those walls down, and it was essentially an empty shell space. It was really cool to see the demolition process. I'll just move on to the hard skills that I was able to develop this summer. That included the meat and potatoes of project engineering, and that's RFIs and submittals. I know that as a second-year intern, that might be like, why are you doing RFIs and submittals? Well, on my previous internship, I was doing different tasks with NCRs and change orders. So this year, my mentors showed me a lot about the processes of RFIs and submittals, what to look for in the design documents, and that was very beneficial this summer. Another thing that we were focusing on was safety, in particular safety orientations. Our safety manager ended up having to go to California early on, so she tasked us with doing safety orientations. That allowed me to work on my public speaking, and I was given the opportunity to do safety orientations in English and in Spanish for those laborers on site that didn't understand completely. This ensured that everyone on site was able to follow the site safety protocols 100%. And moving on, next slide. One of the biggest soft skills that I worked on this summer was my confidence, and that doesn't just mean my public speaking, that also means getting on the phone, talking to my mentors, and feeling comfortable with doing that within the company. And if you move on to the next slide, I learned that confidence is key, and that's one of the biggest things that I see in a lot of experienced project engineers. one day I'm going to be a valuable project engineer to Penta, and confidence is something that I'm continuing to work on. And at the beginning of this summer, Matt told me that I'm going to be a badass woman in construction one day, and that's what I aspire to be. So with that being said, thank you all so much for listening today. And if any of you have any questions.
So you talked about submittals and RFIs and how you got to experience a lot more of that. Additionally, a lot of that process was sitting both with myself, Greg, but also Chris Walker
Yes.
and Cliff.
Yes.
What was your biggest takeaway in regards to what to look for in your submittals and what to look for during that review?
Well, something that you guys kept toning in on and repeating was look at what is being affected around what that submittal is or what that RFI is affecting. What other trades are going to be affected by this? If there's going to be an outlet here, is there anything else that's going to be in conflict? Any sort of HVAC units, the plumbing, is anything in the way? So I think that was the biggest thing because that's not something that I was ever looking for in the past. It was very surface level. So now I've learned to really do my due diligence and deep dive into the documents, not just whatever that scope may be, but also look at the other scopes pertaining to that area in order to make sure that we don't miss any sort of conflicts right there.
So I have a question for you.
Yes?
Civil engineering, is that what you're majoring in?
Yes, correct.
And civil engineering will help you with your future in what way?
Well, I decided to go into civil because I knew that I wanted to go into engineering. However, when I was brought on with Penta, I saw that civil, it could be a big part of a project in the future, like depending on what kind of project it is. If it's a tenant improvement, you're not necessarily going to be having a lot of civil work, but for example, in my previous internship, I was on the Forum Convention Center, and we had a lot of civil work with that project. We tore up Koval Lane, and understanding and being able to truly see what is being done with that scope on a future project is something that I hope to be able to help out with in the future. So I think civil, having that experience and knowledge from my classes is going to be really beneficial.
So do you foresee your civil going any further like structural? I know a lot of civil students always look further at going into structural. Just on that.
Or maybe construction management.
I don't like structural. I'm scared of it. I like the GC side. I like the construction side of it, and I like seeing what else ties into the civil utilities. I like seeing how that ties in to the buildings, and it's a huge part of newer builds, newer construction projects. So I don't necessarily want to go into the straight civil engineering. And I've really enjoyed seeing the entire construction process, so I think that that's the route I'm going with.
Because the project you're working on, that entire building is all structural.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, I think that seeing how things were beginning to tie in, like with what we were able to see on this project, it would be beneficial to know the different components and utilities that go into buildings. So, yes.
You started 2G, you kind of started on the front end of the project.
Yes.
With a little bit of pre-con-ish and moving
Yes.
into the front end. Can you explain how that was different than your experience to seasons where you came kind of project was already started?
Well, that was really different. I mean, I didn't know that we could be brought on during the pre-con phase, and we could be a part of estimating and doing takeoffs and during the bidding process. That was really interesting to see, bringing on subcontractors and creating those relationships and buying them out. That was something that I had never been exposed to before and didn't really know the processes behind it. So having that experience on the front end and then going off into the field for a while was really beneficial because I was able to see and understand really what was being talked about, with different issues such as like bringing on certain subcontractors with our awnings out on the patio area. We were going through different techniques and how it could be done, and that's something that we were talking about from pre-con to the actual start of construction. So that was really interesting to see, and honestly very beneficial to have that transition into the field. Yes?
Working with Eric Anders on the past, I know he's a unique lieutenant. Any good lessons learned that you had in your short time with Eric out there?
Eric is very meticulous with what he's doing and, coordinating the subs and being a part of, I was on Caesars with him, so I was in the sub meetings with him. And one of the biggest takeaways was seeing how the schedule worked out and how that tied into everything, basically. So the budget and all the subs that were going to be on there, seeing the mobilization of the actual construction and understanding that from him, he was able to explain a lot of those processes to me. So that was one of the biggest takeaways that I had from Eric. And he's goofy.
I couldn't quite hear at the screen. How long is it going to take you to become a badass in construction?
Well, I'm hoping that's already today, but that's something I'm going to continue to work towards during my career.
So, first off, just seeing your growth over the past year is amazing. I think you're doing a great
Thank you.
job. Definitely work on the confidence. I see that. Keep up the good work. One of the things on this job that I'm aware of is we're trying to select finishes and go through PE. Again, another part of being a PE is the procurement aspect I don't think you
Yes.
touched on. So can you touch a little bit on the procurement aspect of the job and some of the challenges you might have faced through that?
Well, since we were brought on early, we were able to see what materials we were going to need. And since we had such a short schedule, we had to really expedite our procurement for our long lead times that we were anticipating. So I was able to see that with our wood samples, our tile samples, and it was really important for us to get those out of the way in order to have those components of the construction on site when we needed them. I think it was about 6 months that we had for the project, and we were already delayed from the start. So seeing that process and being a part of it was really beneficial.
Did it help you to feel comfortable out on site, being familiar with a lot of the faces because you were doing orientations?
Absolutely.
Being able to talk to them, and
Absolutely.
How was that experience for you?
Well, it was really nice. I mean, getting to know the workers and showing them the site safety rules, it was more of a comfortable environment being able to go on site. I mean, I'd get hellos and, how are yous, and I think that that's important, especially with smaller projects, building these relationships, especially with the, the laborers and their subs, that goes up, and I think that that's really important to touch upon, and delivering a quality presentation of safety is also going to keep our sites as safe as possible, which is why I wanted to translate the presentation into Spanish for a lot of our workers that didn't understand completely. So having the ability to do that on this project was really amazing to do.